Let me see if you guys can see me. All right, I'm having lots of technical difficulties today. I apologize. Let me just see if... okay, I see some, you guys have popped in a little bit. Drop a hello if you see me. I do apologize that I cannot figure out why it won't let me go from my Zoom. I had to restart the computer. I try to re-download the Zoom, everything. So I apologize for the delay. So we'll just have to go from my phone, which, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not my preference just because like the laptop's a lot easier. It's easier to do it from YouTube as well. So I apologize everyone who is waiting. I see 10 eyeballs popping on here. Drop a hello if you see me, just to make sure I can see your comments. Tell me who you're. I see Carmen, Vivian, Kelly, Anita, Debbie popping in. Let me just see. I just need to make sure you guys are commenting. I see who's viewing. Let me see. No. Okay, are you guys commenting right now? Because I can't see anything. There we go. I am coming through. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Hello. Okay, perfect. Now I can see you guys. Awesome. All right, sorry, I don't know what happened, but I mean, my laptop is having lots of issues, and always right before you need to do something, that is Murphy's Law. And talking about hormones, that's the hormone of cortisol. How funny it is, right? Oh, well, all you can do is laugh. And the only problem with going from the phone is obviously it's going to be not as nice to repurpose over to YouTube. So that's why I was trying harder to go from my laptop, but unfortunately we will just have to make do with what we have here. Okay, so if you are tuning in, this is live number 114. Is it my hormones and its effect on your health, fitness, and physique? Hi, Jeannie. Good to see you. And Carmen, you see me. Awesome. That is really good. And hi, Judy. So hormones, before I dive into my standard introductions, is incredibly complex. Thousands of processes obviously run through your body because of hormones. And so it's more complex than what I'm going to cover today. Obviously, I'm not a hormone specialist. I am not a doctor. Specific hormone replacement therapy, which a lot of menopausal women ask me, that's not my area. I am more of a holistic health coach who understands overall how these impact each other. And I'm just teaching it to help you better understand your body. But obviously with anything specific, or, people I know have had conditions like Hashimoto's and things like that, you would actually individually have to get that checked out with your doctor. Okay. Now, I guess how many of you feel like you struggle with your hormones? If you do feel like you struggle with your hormones, put hormones below. Yeah, put hormones below if you feel like you struggle with your hormones a little bit. Now, hormones affect everything from your energy, metabolism, your reproductive processes, building muscles, and burning fat, which I feel like as the age group of this group, mainly most of you are more concerned about building muscle, burning fat, getting rid of belly fat. Probably not as much of you are worried about reproduction at this point. At least I don't think so, maybe outside of Oshone or something, but most of you are here to want to like lose fat, build muscle, all of that, right? So yes, Jennifer, I see hormones. Jennifer Adams, I see hormones. Kamiko, I see hormones. Yes. So let's dive into some quick intro, and then we will dive into some the different types of hormones that we're going to talk about. So if you are new here, welcome to the Fierce Woman community, where we sculpt powerful bodies and champion mindsets. And if you are watching this from YouTube, I apologize. This is now a vertical format. This is called Solution Seeking 101 when it doesn't work. Yes. So you will have to watch this from a vertical format on YouTube. And if you're joining me from YouTube, also say hello. Would love to know just who is joining me on this live, okay? Hi, Samantha, good to see you. Hi, Barbara and Marcella and Samantha Baptist. Awesome. All right, so a few wins. Just want to welcome Liana Chen. I don't think she's on here, but she just joined the FFF group. And in terms of the FFF program, it's fast filling up. I think we have 4 or 5 now registered in that next group coaching program. So give her lots of hearts for joining the program. I know she's excited to finally understand her eating. As she says, she's never understood nutrition, and this is finally her chance to understand that. So super excited for you, Leanne. And another win is Diana Thomas. If you're on here, Diana Thomas messaged me yesterday, and ready, ladies? She told me she can do 4 pull-ups by herself. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting, because every woman is trying to get a pull-up, and so she's in the Muscle Accelerator program. And that is a huge win for her because she's never been able to do a pull-up before. So her strength has come a really long way. So give her lots of cheer and emojis, and congratulate her on that as well. Yes, awesome. Yes, and I see, yes, adapt and overcome, Jennifer. Exactly. Positive mindset, as I always say, right? We always find a way. Also, I wanted to give a shout out. Actually, you're right here, Jennifer, Leah, and Tana. If you're on here, just wanted to congratulate both of you, as I know you guys are going to be entering the Muscle Accelerator program. I know, Jennifer, you're on a slightly modified, but both of you are entering the Muscle Accelerator. So give those two lots of hearts, because they are going to continue to build lots of fierce muscles. And finally, I wanted to congratulate all of the Anti-Bloat Challenge participants. I know you guys are going into day 4 tomorrow, so you're almost there. You're almost going to be able to get to the end, and I'm excited to see some of the amazing results. I know that a lot of times the Anti-Bloat Challenge, we have people dropping inches and pounds, and super excited at the results whenever we can optimize that. So if you are new here and you have not done one of these challenges, or you want to be marked down for the next challenge, put Anti-Bloat Challenge below so that we can mark you down for the next challenge as well. Obviously, the Anti-Bloat Challenge is kicking off our very, 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 very exciting launch of the 21-day anti-inflammation system, which we have been working on for a long time myself. And obviously we are almost ready to launch it. It is probably going to be launching most likely Friday. So stay tuned for this. And if you have not been on our list yet for the 21-day anti-inflammation challenge, or be marked down to be notified about it, please put 21 below so that we can make sure to tag you on that when that actually comes out. Okay, so yeah, super excited, because the 21-day anti-inflammation system actually is about stabilizing a lot of your hormones, as I will indicate in this hormone live, because of what inflammation does to your system. When your hormones are off, then everything kind of falls off, right? So yeah, so put 21 below if you want to be on that list to know when it's coming out. Awesome. So I see 22 eyeballs. Sorry, this phone is a little bit like different format, but I'm getting used to it. Hi Amy, hi Yaika and Yvonne. Yvonne, good to see you. Yvonne's in the next FFF program as well. Awesome. All right, so if you're just dropping in, this is all about hormones. So let's talk a little bit about hormones. So hormones are chemical messengers that control all our cellular processes. It tells our body what to do and when to do it, right? So it's really an executive control center, I guess, because it really runs on many systems and interactions between the different hormones. There are about 50 different types of hormones in the body, and they regulate everything from your metabolism to your mood, to your sleep, to your digestion, to your fat stores, to your stress level, and to your muscle building process. I'm laughing because I'm like, I am sure hormones of cortisol just went through my body the last 15 minutes, but we are managing this cortisol right now with laughter and smiles. So it affects, hormones affect everything in your body, right? Now, 80% of women actually suffer from hormonal imbalance. And that's actually a studies that have been done that like most women actually have some sort of hormonal imbalance. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in a little bit, but to understand what are the different types of hormones that are interacting in your body, to best understand how you can optimize the functioning of your body, right? Hi, Rosalinda. Hi, Angel. Awesome to see all of you. So let's first start with, we're going to talk about actually 8 hormones out of the 50. 8 hormones that would be more relevant to you as women. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna describe to you what these hormones are, and then we're gonna talk about it from the role of exercise, nutrition, and menopause. We're gonna really look at those from those standpoint as well. Okay, so the first type of hormone is estrogen. So obviously, we're women, so we have the estrogen hormone. Now, estrogen, actually, there are 16 different types of estrogen types of hormone. The top 3 is estradiol, estrone, and estrol, E2, E1, E1, 2, 3, basically, okay? And so these are produced by the ovaries, and obviously estrogen is very important for your female features, right? Like your breasts, your kind of your hips, your female features, basically, right? But if you have imbalances in your estrogen, it can lead to a lot of different problems. If you have too low of estrogen, you can have dry skin, you can have night sweats, low libido, vaginal dryness, all of that. There's a lot of things that can come about if you have low estrogen. And if you have high estrogen, too high, then you can maybe experience like tenderness in your breasts, you have achy legs, you have possibly ovarian cysts, and many other things in your system. So your balance of your estrogen is very important. However, as most of you guys know, your estrogen levels do change as you age, which is something I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But obviously, as women, we have this dominant hormone. But what happens when this estrogen hormone starts to drop, right? So we're going to talk about that. But that's number 1 hormone first is estrogen. Number 2 is progesterone. So progesterone is produced in the second half of your menstrual cycle. Some of you still have your menstrual cycle. I know not everybody is in menopause right now. So it's usually produced in your second half of your menstrual cycle. And it's obviously, I'll call it the pregnancy hormone because it actually is what helps your uterus lining and allows like the egg to attach to the wall. So it is your pregnancy hormone. But progesterone is also really important for a lot of other things in your body. So progesterone is actually important for your brain nerve cells. It's really important for your mood regulation, facilitating memory. So again, when you think about some of these hormones that may start to drop off as you age, this kind of relates to why sometimes people memory goes, they're not as good in their brain fog, they would say. It helps to promote healthy sleep, and it actually allows you to relax more. So when you have a progesterone, it actually allows you to relax a little bit better. So when you have that drop off, that may also not be that great, because that means you're more tendency is to stress, right? Dolores, you're in full-blown menopause. Yeah, Dolores, most women in here are actually perimenopause or menopause, or they're post, but this is the age group, Dolores, so you're in the right place, because I am going to address that, right? Because obviously all these hormones change as you age. And whether you're young, you know, I have young 30-year-olds come and talk to me right now, and I said, well, it's just a matter of 10 years or plus, you're gonna see something happen if you don't take care of your body, right? So it's not that far away from that many people either, right? Like, it's close, it's getting there. If you're reaching the age of 40, you're already starting to need to consider how are these hormones changing, right? So yes, we will talk more about that. Dolores, hi Kelly, good to see you. Number 3 hormone is cortisol. I have talked a lot about cortisol before, so I know you guys know this. This is the body's stress hormone, and it will be excreted whenever you face stressful situations physically, mentally, or emotionally. So if you are, like I speak to a lot of women about the way you think. So if you think negative thoughts, if you're self-sabotaging, if you hang on to, you're upset about things, you can't forgive someone, all of these like mental things also causes cortisol spikes, right? So cortisol is that hormone that, you know, we need when we need to run from that bear, right? Like I always say, or lift up a car or something. I think I actually once, you know, I think it was on another live in the other group, but there was a story of this woman lifting a car off his son, her son. And that's crazy because the car is how many, you know, tons. But, you know, under cortisol, your body can do amazing things. And so that's good that you can, you need cortisol in the state of emergency. And cortisol is actually needed to wake up. If you didn't have cortisol secreted, you wouldn't wake up. So we are thankful for cortisol, but this hormone becomes a problem when cortisol is in extended periods of chronic stress. So chronically, it is always being secreted. This is when cortisol becomes a major issue, right? Because then cortisol causes not only belly fat to be more likely to be deposited. Cortisol impacts insulin, which I'm about to talk about, which is another major hormone. And when cortisol is present, the cells do not allow insulin does not allow the insulin to shuttle sugar into your cells as easily. Because why? Because cortisol is present and it thinks you need the sugar now. Right? So it's going to shut off those walls of the cell, and then you are not able to push sugar, glucose into your cells. Sugar remains in the bloodstream. This over time can cause a lot of chronic conditions. High blood sugar levels are dangerous. And then obviously the body has to decide what to do with the sugar, which then leads to potential fat deposit. And that's probably one of the potential reasons why cortisol often leads to a lot of belly fat, right? So we don't want chronic cortisol. Hi Bonnie, good to see you, and Lisa. We don't want chronic cortisol, and so too much cortisol, too long, will lead to hypertension, sleep loss, and a lot of autoimmune diseases. So if you're a very stressed person, you want to be careful and kind of watch your levels of stress. I know one of the things I say for my own clients, in particular Muscle Accelerator, you know, I think I just had a conversation with you, Vivian, but like the number one thing I work with my MA clients is actually mindset, right? Because I know that if these other hormones are present, like cortisol and everything, I can give you the best workout program, but you're not going to be able to build a lot of muscle or good muscles. Yeah, it zaps your energy. Exactly, Teresa. And I see Carmen says, wow. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. And it's not that, again, it sounds like cortisol is the absolute bad guy, but it is under chronic, but cortisol is needed for our actually like to wake up and to have a little bit of cortisol when we build muscle and stress our bodies in the gym. So there is a reason for cortisol, but it is important to know how to control it, especially long term, right? So so it's just to understand that, yeah, it's hard to control it. And mindset is the hardest, Debbie. Yeah, exactly. And then too little cortisol. So if you have too little cortisol, which could be also a hormonal imbalance, is associated with like low blood pressure, weakness, fatigue. So you kind of have to have just like the right balance of all that. So that's cortisol. Okay, that's number 3, right? Number 4 is thyroid. So your thyroid hormone is extremely important. This is, you have T3 and T4. T3 is the converted form of T4, like it's the usable form of T4. And your thyroid hormone regulates everything like your metabolism, the health of your hair, your skin, your nails, and so much more. And so often if you have problems with your thyroid, you're going to have problems with your energy and with your metabolism, right? And like I said, there is like certain things that if you have thyroid issues, you probably will need to see your doctor. But a lot of research has been done too that your nutrition is very important around maintaining good thyroid hormones, like eating like healthy nuts and seaweed and things like that actually helps you with iodine and things like that. There is ways you can improve your thyroid functioning, right? So it's not always medication or things like that, but actually healthy nutrition as well. So that's number 4. Okay, I'm running through all of these hormones just to give you a background before we dive deeper into the interrelation of them. Hi Tanya, good to see you, and Margaret as well. The next one is testosterone. So testosterone, obviously we have it as well. Women do produce testosterone, just in much lesser degree. Men have about 10 to 15 times our testosterone. Well, in a way, we're kind of glad. Otherwise, you would look like a guy. Your face would be your facial structures would change, you broaden, you will have a lot of facial hair. So I'm kind of glad I don't have that much testosterone in that way. Otherwise, we might all start looking like guys, right? So it is produced in the ovaries. Testosterone is produced in the ovaries, a little bit in the adrenal glands, and a little bit in your fat cells. So you need healthy testosterone for good your good healthy libido, the ability to turn fat into muscle, increasing bone density, helping with your mood, helping with your stress, and supporting your blood cell development, your bone growth. And typically if you have a little bit higher level of testosterone, often you'll have this like sense of power, motivation, and assertiveness about you. So and so this actually relates a little bit into why, if you actually kind of follow people who are quite like driven in the gym, they typically have a bit more of this like assertiveness to them and this like motivation and all of that, because actually when you train and you train more, you boost a little bit of your testosterone level in your body, right? So if you ever want to have more motivation and assertiveness, any one of you lacking motivation these days? If you are lacking more assertiveness, motivation, this is why probably going to the gym is also really helpful, because it helps you have the right hormone to be like, let's do it, let's go after our goals, that type of thing. Is anybody currently lacking motivation, or they feel kind of like sluggish all the time, that type of thing? Yes, put it below if you do, because sometimes that's kind of why, like, we on a layman's term will say, oh, go and exercise because it's healthy for you, but actually on a hormonal level it actually really benefits you, to give yourself more of a sense of power from that testosterone boost as well. So hi Tanya, hi Mary. So that's the 5th type of hormone. The 6th type of hormone is growth hormone. So obviously this is something I've talked a lot about in my muscle sculpting masterclass, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Teresa, zero motivation. So Teresa, do you regularly go to the gym or train or work out? Because that how sometimes people say, I need to feel motivated to go to the gym and work out. This is the exact reason why you don't need to have that feeling, because the feeling doesn't come before you go to the gym. The feeling comes after you go to the gym. So you just go to the gym and then the feeling follows, because you change the hormonal profiling of your body. From a science standpoint, that's actually what's happening, and all the endorphins that get released as well, right? Yes. So Yvonne, yes, when you have hysterectomy, it does change a little bit of your hormones. And in terms of what you're getting and all of that, that is kind of more your doctor. But if you are struggling with belly fat, which I don't want to jump too far ahead, having too much androgen hormones in your body can contribute to belly fat. But it's not because of just androgen hormones, it's also because of your nutrition. So that's a little bit deeper, Yvonne, and I know you're in the FFF program, so we will be able to address that. Hi, Tavanna, good to see you. Teresa, I hardly have the energy to get out of bed. I need to go to the gym, Carmen, yeah. Teresa, so Teresa, that may have to do with, could be hormonal imbalance, maybe nutrition. So that may be something we can reach out to you a little bit more on, right? So, because it's such a complex balance of so many, right? So that's number 6. I don't want to spend too long on the hormone section because we're going to talk about the interrelations of it. Number 7 is insulin. Now, insulin is extremely important. Awesome, Tavanna. Yes, I'm doing well. Yes. I had a bit of problem at the beginning, but we are on live and I'm excited to be doing this live for all of you, Tavanna. So insulin is extremely important because every one of us needs the insulin hormone to do what? To help us manage and shuttle sugar in our body, right? So if you have malfunctioning insulin, that means you have malfunctioning blood sugar levels in your body. And what does this mean? Hypoglycemic, hyperglycemic. You could potentially faint. You could, too much, although usually you won't get to that level. You could die, right? Or have major health issues. And of course, unstable blood sugar will most likely, for a lot of people, lead to prediabetes, or diabetes, type 2 diabetes, right? So this actually affects probably a lot of you. I'm not sure if anybody in here, all 27 eyeballs, how many of you might struggle with prediabetes or diabetes, or have a history of it in your family. So if you have that, you want to be particularly cognizant of the insulin hormone. So your insulin hormone regulates your blood sugar level, right? It helps you shuttle the sugar into the cells. Like I said, basically insulin gets produced from your pancreas when it signals, when the body signals there's lots of sugar. So where does sugar come from? From eating a lot of your carbs, right? You need carbs, but that's why you need to understand what types of carbs enter your system is really key. As your body receives signals about the sugar, it will tell the pancreas to now produce insulin. The more sugar there is in the body, the more your pancreas is going to produce insulin, and then the insulin attaches to the cell receptors, and then it binds to it. And basically, you can think of insulin as gatekeepers, right? So they are the little molecules that basically will open the gate or close the gate to allow sugar into the cells. So that's kind of why I mentioned that healthy functioning insulin is really important. And then when cortisol is present, now it's like almost it blocks those gatekeepers, and now they have trouble being able to shuttle sugar into your cells. And then from a muscle building standpoint, which I know a lot of you are very curious about, that means you're going to have problems building muscle, right? Because if your muscles and your cells cannot get the energy it needs, it's going to have lack of energy, and it's going to have lack of resources to build your muscle. So again, you want healthy operating insulin and healthy operating cortisol. And when those are thrown off, then we have malfunctioning in the hormone balance, right? What happens when the sugar level goes down? Well, Carmen, when the sugar level goes down, like as in it shuttles the sugar into your cells, then your pancreas stops producing insulin, so that it no longer needs to shuttle it anymore, right? So that's why you want to keep the level of insulin at a stable level. You don't want to always like spike it. Otherwise, like there's just so much that the pancreas has to do, which would lead to almost an overload of the pancreas. When you take too much sugar, your pancreas will actually for a while can do it, but like just like anything, like think about yourself. If you went all day running and you ran all day every day 24 hours, you would eventually what, burn out, right? So we kind of think about your pancreas in the same way, and it actually goes all day every day. You're eating lots of not healthy food, or a lot of carb based, or your carb levels are too high, or you don't understand what things spike your insulin level. Now you're forcing it to go for marathon runs, and it keeps running, and one day what might happen? One day your pancreas may stop working. And that's when we run into problems if it stops producing insulin. And then we now are into the diabetes condition, right? So it's just really being to know that properly. So in terms of, okay, so that's insulin's number 7. Okay, number 8 is melatonin. So melatonin obviously is the sleep hormone, and this is produced in your pineal gland, a very tiny part in your brain, and it is activated by darkness or nighttime, and it regulates your circadian rhythm, your sleep wake cycle. And if your melatonin is disrupted, then you're going to have poor sleep quality, increased fatigue, and poor sleep quality can lead to heart diseases, depression, mood disorders, diabetes because of the sugar levels of like imbalances in insulin, imbalances in cortisol. It leads to poor gut functioning, poor digestion, and so that leads to more cravings as well. So if your sleep gets thrown off, then it can lead to a lot of hormonal imbalances, right? And so this is kind of why about 80% of people do struggle with some hormonal imbalance, because so many things have to play together to make sure you are well balanced, right? So how could you tell us if that's happening to your pancreas? It's a good question, Tavana. I mean, I'm sure you can probably do tests. You test your blood work to know how much sugar and circulating sugar is in your body. But really, a huge part of understanding this is nutrition. So making sure we understand how to not constantly spike our insulin level. So I mean, since we're on this topic, I may as well just ask everyone, who here understands how to regulate their insulin level with proper nutrition? So if you say, maybe say like no, maybe just say nutrition or no nutrition, or no, like not nutrition, because you have to know your nutrition to be able to regulate that, right? So maybe put like nutrition, yes, if you know how to regulate it. If you don't know how to regulate it, put nutrition, no, so we understand, okay? Since you asked that question, because you do have to understand how it's affected, right? But also I will say one thing about insulin, because it all has to do with sugar and sugar balances in your body. It depends on what activity you do, right? Again, I'm going to use the example of marathon runners. Marathon runners, they're going to be literally sucking on sugar gels, like straight sugar in their body, but they need it, right? They need it, otherwise they can go into hypoglycemia. So under what circumstances is really, really key, right? If this was a group for marathon runners, we would actually be talking about a lot of straight sugar, like sugar straight through your system. But this is a group for menopausal women, particularly menopausal women who struggle with belly fat or people with excess fat. So therefore, I speak a lot about sugar being controlled much more kind of at a steady state, steady pace, right? I see, yes, you know how to control it. Good. Jennifer, know how to control it. Lisa, no. Lisa, yeah, like, I know you were in the FFF program, but maybe you just feel like you need more help with the carbs inside of things. Yeah, but I'm glad you're honest about that, or maybe you just know you need to work on your nutrition. Yvonne, nutrition, yes. Tasha, nutrition, yes. So you guys know how to control your nutrition for the insulin levels, right? So Tavana says nutrition, live a carb-free, sugar-free diet mostly, but do like sweets sometimes, like pastries. Yeah, Tavanna, I know you're not menopausal yet, but learning how to control your sugar level now is just as important, because if you have poor regulation of that hormone, insulin also can affect the kind of your your estrogen, your progesterone, like all of the balances in your body, which is important for you even at your age, or eventually if you want to have children, right? So that's really important as well. Awesome, Joanne. Yes, and I see the nutrition. Awesome. Hi, Marlene. Good to see you. All right, so those are the 8 hormones I wanted to talk about, to give you a background around 8 hormones that we need to be particularly understanding of in understanding our bodies as women. So let's talk a little bit about, as you age, what happens to your hormones, okay? So as you age, estrogen, testosterone, growth hormone, and melatonin are all hormones that actually decrease with age, unfortunately. So because we know all of the roles of these hormones that play in our body, so this will lead to certain things happening, right? So a decline in estrogen and progesterone obviously will, and if it goes all the way, it's menopause, right? When you actually have a big decline on your estrogen, progesterone, no more ovulation, then it's menopause, right? And the drop in estrogen typically will lead to mood swings, irritability, night sweats, hot flashes, and loss of muscle. Just because your estrogen starts to drop down. So how many of you struggle with those things, like mood swings, night sweats, hot flashes, irritability, and loss of muscle? Do any of you guys struggle with that? Put it below. Because a lot of menopausal women probably struggle with that. Even if you're not menopausal and you're 20, you may struggle with mood swings because of not the greatest hormonal balance, right? So put below what you might struggle with, okay? Paula, you struggle with that? All of it? Mood swings, irritability, night sweats, hot flashes, loss of muscle? So name off what you struggle with, or it may be all of them. Hair loss. I'm going to talk about hair loss, actually, Jennifer, in a little bit, about which hormone that is. Night sweats only, hot flashes, right? Okay. Irritability sometimes in mood swings due to IUD. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. But I'm on hormone replacement therapy. Yeah, Angela. Yeah. And I know a lot of people have chosen to go that path. Struggle with mood swings, night sweats, and hot flashes. Awesome. So obviously there's that common struggle amongst all of you. So just keep that in mind, that the drop in estrogen partially kind of contributes to that. Estrogen also plays a role for muscle building. So if you ever attended my muscle sculpting masterclass, I had specifically talked about satellite cell activity in muscle creation. When estrogen is present, it actually contributes to the satellite cell activity around those muscles that helps you build in the new fiber. The satellite cells basically are satelliting, and then they can contribute nucleus to the new cell that then eventually builds in a new muscle fiber. When your estrogen is actually not as dominant, or you don't have estrogen as much anymore, it actually decreases your satellite cell activity, which is one of the reasons why it is harder for women to build muscle as they age, because you have less satellite cell activity. And so it just explains one of the reasons why it gets harder, right? I see insomnia as well, and hair loss, right? Yeah, Lucy, loss of muscle, which I was just talking about here, right? The loss of muscle when estrogen drops. As well, with the decrease in estrogen levels, your ratio of estrogen drops and your androgen hormones rise, right? Which is testosterone, sort of the more male-based hormones. The ratio of it kind of changes. When this changes the distribution of fat, okay? So fat distributes differently based on hormonal signaling. Estrogen tells your body to deposit into the beautiful areas like your hips, your buttocks, your breasts, right? But when that drops, now you're going to start to lose, if you haven't worked out or aren't really training for anything, you start to lose kind of those nice curves. You start to lose maybe your butt. I know some of you have told me, "Yeah, I don't have a butt anymore. What's going on? I used to have such a nice butt," you know? All of that kind of starts to drop off a little bit, and your fat will redistribute more to your center. So it's called centralization of fat distribution. When your androgen hormones start to rise, you'll start to see fat deposit towards your belly and kind of that like love handle area in the center of your body, the spare tire. How many of you have a spare tire here? Put spare tire below. How many of you struggle with belly fat or spare tire? Put it below, because this is one of the common and most common I guess symptoms as people enter that menopausal stage, right? So put spare tire or belly fat below. Okay. Hi Elizabeth. Hi Kim. Hi Debbie. So that also is partially a reason that you're getting that spare tire. But I am going to talk about one more thing behind that, because I often say people blame menopause. You know, menopause, there's a lot changing for sure. There is, but if your nutrition was good, you wouldn't have excess fat to deposit, right? Excess fat deposit comes from, well, we're talking about a hormonal imbalance like high cortisol, poor food eating, and excess calorie consumption. So you're actually have a spare tire because you don't eat well, right? You don't have the proper nutrition. You don't have the proper understanding around inflammation in your system. And then because of that, that leads to the predominance of fat being deposited in the center. But it's not just because of your hormone shifting. You can have your hormone shifting and you don't have excess fat depositing on your body, and you won't have the spare tire. Does that make sense? So it has to still connect back to the way you eat. A lot of people just don't eat well. And I see a lot of this coming in here. Spare tire, Angela, Vivian, very little. Yeah, you have so little. Not much of spare tire, Vivian. Lucy's belly fat, although yours come down a lot. Karen, a little bit, yeah, spare tire. Cindy, Jan, you're on estrogen progesterone blockers. Yeah, and like I said, some people have chosen to use HRT, right? And that's something you want to talk to your doctor about. Tavana says more loose belly from losing a bunch of weight. Yes, Tavana, you're still quite young, so it's really like, just if you can dial in that nutrition, your hormones will respond a lot faster at your age than someone at 50. So you do have that advantage. Marcella, I struggle with lower belly fat. I don't have much, but I want it gone. Yeah, and lower belly fat is a tough area, but again, it's has to do with these few things. I mean, it's a combination, right? It's not always one thing, but it's like your hormonal imbalance based on some of the other hormones I talked about, your nutrition, and just how you handle stress, like your mindset and all of that, right? So another thing in terms of the nutrition part of this belly fat area is belly fat is connected to your adrenal glands through a portal. And it means that belly fat really affects glucose and fat mobilization. As you age, you actually become less glucose tolerant. And so you don't handle glucose as well. Your body does not respond to glucose as well. And so this is kind of why, your belly fat's really connected to the way you eat and how the ratios of your carbs and what you're eating will affect how much you're going to be depositing there. Because then, if belly fat affects fat and glucose mobilization, then it's gonna have an impact on how well you kind of utilize that fat or that nutrient molecule, right? So one of the key around belly fat is you need to control your insulin level, like I said above. That's kind of why I refer to insulin. And you need to understand how to also control cortisol. And if you don't understand how to control cortisol, it will also lead to inflammation in your body. Cortisol is not just physical stress, it's the stress and toxins from within your environment and your food. So this brings me to the point of why for the 21-day anti-inflammation system is why I created that as the first level problem to solve, right? Because if you don't solve inflammation in your system, you're constantly struggling with your white blood cells being under attack and going to fight. And when you want to go fight, what's that fight or flight response? You got cortisol going. And so if your food is causing you're systematically inflamed, you're just going to have too many problems and all your hormones are out of whack because of that, right? So two things. One, if you want to learn more about nutrition, I want you to put nutrition below. And two, again, if you have not told us you want to learn about the 21-day anti-inflammation system, I want you to put the 21 below as well, because your ability to control that stress response and the inflammation in your system is very, very crucial. And your ability to understand nutrition contributes to belly fat or being able to take down that belly fat, right? So put nutrition if you want to learn more about nutrition below, or 21 to learn more about the 21-day anti-inflammation system. All right, so let's continue on with hormones and muscle mass. So hormones obviously contribute to how you can build muscle. So I had mentioned this before that you have testosterone a little bit, but you also have something called human growth hormone. So women actually depend on two other hormones more specifically, which is HGH and DHEA. These two hormones, we predominantly use it more just because we can't actually use too much testosterone. We don't have enough, number one. Number two, it needs to become a release form for us to be able to use testosterone. And there's just very little that can become usable for us. There is a little bit of boost in your testosterone when you go work out, but the other hormones that get highly boosted is your HGH as well as your DHEA. Okay, so obviously as you age, your GH as well as your DHEA actually declines. Obviously that makes sense, right? When do you have the greatest growth hormone? A baby, right? A baby, like they grow so much. These kids, they grow so much. They have huge amounts of growth hormones in them, right? But as you age, by the time, I think they said around like about 30 or so, it'll start to decline. So for those of you, entering 40, 50, 60s, your GH and your DHEA is already starting to kind of taper off. But what did I say is if you start to lift weights and actually work out, you can help increase the production of GH in your body and DHEA. And specifically, almost all exercise will help you increase GH and DHEA, but lifting weights gives you the highest boost of GH and DHEA in your body, which means you can actually have more lean body mass, better bone density, and obviously, better quality of life overall, right? So this is something that I specifically talk about in my muscle masterclass. So I'd also indicated before that in the new 21-day anti-inflammation system, I put in the bonus course for the Muscle Master Sculpting class. So if you're wanting to learn about the specific hormones and how the factors between DHEH, human growth hormone, and what you need to do to make sure you maximize these hormones, and what foods you need to eat, as well as supplements you need to take to be able to maximize your muscle building potential, that is in that Muscle Master Sculpting the muscle sculpting masterclass. So if you want to also learn more about that, you can put muscle sculpting masterclass, or just muscles is fine, and we will also note you down for that. Okay, so put muscle below if you want to specifically learn more about this, about these hormonal balance with building muscle. Hi Valerie and Melissa, I see you guys popped in as well. 21, I see Felicia, Marcella, we see 21. Yes, and we will make sure to mark you down so you don't miss that announcement. Another thing that is really important around the muscle building potential of you as a woman is that yes, you need to resistance train to increase the HGH and the DHEA. Listening to you is reigniting, putting a swift kick in my butt. Awesome, Paula. I'm glad. I want this to motivate you to go back to lifting and taking care of your body, right? But the other thing is, in terms of these hormones, there is so we're going to talk about cortisol, because cortisol competes with your DHEA hormone, or the DHEA basically has to make a decision when it reaches a certain axis in your hormonal profiling. It has to make a decision whether to become cortisol or to become a testosterone or estrogen in your body. So if you have high cortisol in your system, high demand, high stress in your body is actually going to fight you in trying to build muscle. So if you don't really understand how to control cortisol stress in your body, and I'm going to say this again, cortisol comes from not just your physical stress, but food you eat, maybe lack of sleep, maybe your mindset, maybe like inflammatory markers you're not aware of. And belly fat obviously produces more inflammatory markers, then that's going to compete against your more of your muscle building hormones, and you don't want that, right? We already, as women who are aging, you have less estrogen and less sex hormones for your body to use. So this is why learning to control cortisol, learning to control inflammation is extremely important, especially if you want to build more muscle. You want to have better muscle building potential. You need to understand how to bring down that inflammation in your body and the cortisol, so it doesn't compete against your muscle building hormones, right? So again, if you want to learn more about that muscle sculpting masterclass, put muscle sculpting masterclass, or the 21 day, which is to take down the stress inflammation in your body. So put 21 below if you want to learn more about that. Okay, now as you age, your melatonin also decreases. Okay, your melatonin obviously is that hormone, is your sleep hormone. So because as you age, your melatonin decreases, this is actually sort of the reason why a lot of times you guys are struggling with sleep unless you sleep and wake up easily. So wanting to make sure you balance your melatonin a little bit better is also really important. Learning not only like proper sleep habits, but also like balancing back out your hormones with proper exercise, because exercise is known to help you sleep deeper and kind of set your circadian rhythm better, right? So again, exercise really helps mitigate the situation of declining melatonin in your body, right? So yeah, I see muscle building, Melissa, and we will reach out to you, and Angela as well. Awesome. So in terms of continue with that exercise side of things, okay? So when you regularly exercise, you are going to reduce circulating estrogen in your body. So estrogen, if you have too much of it, isn't good, right? So if you still have your menstrual cycle, exercising actually helps you reduce circulating estrogen, and it helps you reduce the PMS symptoms, and have better menstrual cycles, less cramping, and just better overall balance. So if you are you are regularly exercising, then that's awesome. If you're not regularly exercising and you have bad hormonal balances, bad PMSs, this is another reason why you may want to regularly exercise. I think I'm motivating a lot of you to exercise, right? And then after you exercise, you will have a boost in the hormones I mentioned above, but you will have a boost in estradiol, testosterone, growth hormone, DHEA. And so these 4 hormones are extremely important for muscle building. And so you get a transient increase in hormone every time you exercise. But we have to also make sure that the way you train matters, okay? So the way you train matters. So you need to make sure that there is a medium resistance training. So you are hitting your muscles at a level that it stresses it enough to build more muscle, but you want to make sure that it doesn't overtrain or overstress your body. So if you overtrain and you don't have good nutrition or good recovery, this will create a lot of hormonal imbalance. Okay, so we're coming back to hormonal imbalance. So Melissa, like right there, what you just said, I lift 6 days a week with 20 minutes cardio. I cannot master a good sleep cycle. So it depends what you're doing in your workout. Is your workout optimized? Is your workout a certain way that it is helping you with maximum body composition and good hormonal balance, right? Because what I was about to say is if you overtrain and you don't have proper rest and recovery and not proper nutrition, you're going to affect your decline you're going to decline your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone. So all of those hormones will actually start to decline, and then it elevates your cortisol. So when those hormones are all out of whack, you're just going to have a hard time building muscle, and cortisol is just spiking in your system, right? And when cortisol is spiking in your system, it affects a lot of things: your insulin, your sleep cycle, your belly fat, right? So again, I'm going to come back to, if you train but don't train properly, then you can risk overstressing your body. And if you don't fuel it properly, then you will risk not of giving it the proper nutrition, right? So and if your hormones, like let's say like the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone decline with overtraining, okay, they all decline with overtraining, you will affect your HPA axis from the brain down to obviously the the down where they're producing like the DHEA, the estrogen, the progesterone, all those things below. It's going to affect how energy is used in your body. So again, like I said, like I mentioned at the very beginning, like it's like so many pathways, so complex. But if you throw 1 or 2 hormones off, you're going to throw a whole axis off, right? And if your HPA axis is off, then your energy system is redirected to the wrong things, right? You want it directed to muscle building. You want it to be directed to fat metabolism. You want it to be directed to healthy things. But if your nutrition fueling after is not proper and your programming is not proper, then you will have that problem. So you want to make sure that you have the resistance training. You have to have proper amount of cardio to have proper amount of good testosterone, good progesterone in your system, and also your HIIT training to balance the 3 to ensure that these hormones are being excreted at a balanced level. So again, how many of you listening know that you need a better workout program and better nutritional like recovery, fueling afterwards? Put better programming or better nutrition below if you feel like, I need to understand this better, right? If you are someone who overtrains, which a lot of women in the menopausal stage do, I find some of you train too much or in an inaccurate way, it really will affect your hormone balance. You're actually doing more harm to your body than good, right? So again, put proper programming or proper nutrition if you want to understand better how to do your workouts and the nutrition side of things, okay? Marcella, you said, when I lift weights, I sleep better. Also when I do HIIT workout. Yes, because because when you work out, you actually reset a bit of your circadian rhythm and your melatonin. So it does really help, right? And obviously it balances out a lot of other hormones, right? So Yvonne, better programming, I love it, because you're in the next FFF program. So we are gonna get you on track for sure, Yvonne. So and hi Shirley, I see you popped in there. So another aspect, so hormones again is super complex, is not only do you have to have good resistance training and lifting weights, you have to make sure your macros are proper, because you know, it's been said for women, as you age, because of your hormones changing at such a rapid rate, you actually need fats more than, not more than you need carbs, but almost the fat predominance is actually really important. I spoke about this a couple weeks ago on that muscle building one. So you have to know your essential fats and what types of fats to help you with hormone production, vitamin absorption, decreasing inflammation in your system. Healthy fats help you with that. So you have to know how to balance your macros with, you need sufficient protein, good healthy fats, and some carbs, but being careful of how much carbs you have, because of the presence of insulin, and you become glucose, you become less tolerant of glucose as you age. This is why textbook macros aren't always accurate, because it's not like, you know, the macros for Tivana is going to be very different at 20, and for Oshone, who's, you know, 30, she's not 30 yet, then for someone who is 54, right? You can see that the balance and ratio between what you need for fat and carbs will radically change as you age. So again, if you want to have better balance with your hormones and you don't understand macros enough, I want you to also put macros below if you want to learn and understand more about macros, because that also affects your hormonal balance, right? So always room for improvement, Paula. Yes, exactly. Hi Sharon, good for you to join. Angela, I read at least 60 grams of fat to support hormones, no less. Well, I would say that that is, again, dependent on the person, and it depends on what they're doing. This is why, again, I'm a little bit hesitant, unless I know you and have seen what you do on a regular basis, what you eat, how much you exercise, then I can understand how much it is. Because if we give like set numbers to people, this is where people run into problems, right? I would say, for example, Rosalinda, if you're on here, you know, you were competing, you were super lean, we could see your abs from 57 years old, then suddenly something happened at 60, and the past few years you've gained a lot of belly fat, and then you worked in my program, Rosalinda. I know we had that interview, and one of the biggest things we had talked about is your fat macros, and she had way too high of fat macros. So that's why I just want you guys to be careful. It's not like taking one thing someone says here or says this is the fat macro you need, and then what's going to end up happening is that can spike a lot of other things, right? Too much fat is going to spike caloric counts and impact a lot of other things. Then somebody like Rosalinda have a big struggle with belly fat until we worked on her fat macros and obviously inflammation markers, right? Rosalinda, if you're on here, you'll know we worked a lot on inflammation markers and your fat macros, right? So yeah, we will reach out to you, Melissa. I do not give macros specifically until I know you, because it's not fair, and it would be very unprofessional. Honestly, if somebody says they know your macros right off the bat, they would either be using a cookie cutter formula, they're just using a textbook formula, and only someone who actually takes time to understand you truly can actually know where you are in your actual macros, right? So we will reach out to you in regards to that, or body type. Yeah, in terms of macros. Yes, Vivian. Yes. Vivian is saying that because she is an ectomorph, and so she has trouble putting on muscle. So we have to really boost her macros like crazy. I think, Vivian, we are up to now 2150 now. in calories, and her carb ratio is incredibly high. So I have pushed Vivian's carb ratios extremely high because she has trouble building muscle. So also your body type affects what your macro assignment is. If you're more endomorphic, it's going to change. If you're more mesomorphic, it's going to change. If you're ectomorphic like Vivian, it's going to change, right? So and again, if you don't know what those mean, ectomorph just means you naturally are very lean, have trouble putting on muscle, and you're just always very kind of that skinny look. Mesomorphs are more the athletic type. They're kind of the in-between. They can build muscle if they need. They can lose fat if they need. And the endomorphs are the rounder types. They just put on fat a little bit easier. So there's kind of different genetic predispositions that will affect your macro base and your assignments as well, right? Or goals that matter too, Angela. Exactly. So you guys all understand. So if you want to learn more about macros and you want help with that, then I want you to put macros below, okay? As that's very specific. And then as well, I had mentioned before, in order to maximize the hormonal response as a woman to lift weights, you want to make sure that you are training your larger muscle groups. You want to train multi-joint compounds. You want to have high volume, high sets to produce a lot of fatigue ability into your body. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I need you to watch the live 2 weeks ago on muscle building around how woman is more muscle fatigue resistant. So in order to maximize our testosterone, our human growth hormone, our ability to maximize these types of hormones, you have to train a specific way. All my muscle accelerators, if you watch my muscle accelerator technique class, Vivian, I know you just watched it. Joanne, you were with me on the class. Who else was with me? Tracy, you were with me in the class. You guys know what I mean when I say you need to push your muscle to a high level of muscular fatigue, and most women don't train in this formula or have this type of technical background. So again, if you need better proper training, technical training, put proper programming below, because it's not just training. If you can go to the gym and just lift weights and just lift those dumbbells day in, day out, but you don't see changes in your body or see changes in your muscle, you're not training the right way, or you're not fueling your body the right way, okay? So you have to think about it. Am I going to the gym day after day, week after week, but I'm not seeing results? That may mean you need to change something in your workout program or the way you train. My MAs, like if you guys can jump in on here, did you learn a lot in that muscle technique class that I did? And almost most of you did not push to the level that I expected, correct? Lisa Pelcher was there. Vivian, you saw it. Joanne, you were there. You guys don't push to the level that you're supposed to in order to get the muscle growth you need. So if you need to learn better programming, better technique, please put proper programming or technique below. Yes, eye opener. Exactly. Yeah, I know that. Even Joanne was saying she never felt her chest before like that. She was doing her chest presses completely wrong, right? So Melissa, we see the macros and we will reach out to you. All right, so the next thing, we're almost done here. So 80% of women have hormonal imbalances, okay? This is because of so many factors that influence hormones. So these are some symptoms of hormonal imbalance. And I'm gonna read this out, and I want you to go, yes, I have hormonal imbalance, or no, I don't have hormonal imbalance. But I think this hits on a lot of things, okay? So obviously acne for the younger people, maybe older people have some too. Irregular menstrual cycles, heavy periods or skipped periods, thinning hair. Someone mentioned thinning hair or hair loss, hot flashes, low libido, infertility, vaginal dryness, depression, anxiety, fatigue, unexplained weight gain or unexplained weight loss, or sleep disturbances. Do any of you experience this? Some of these, you can put what you experience. So these are symptoms typically of hormonal imbalance, okay? So again, I'll say it's acne, irregular menstrual cycles, heavy periods or skip periods, hair thinning, hair loss, hot flashes, low libido, infertility, vaginal dryness, depression, anxiety, fatigued, unexplained weight gain or weight loss, and sleep disturbances. And so do some of you guys experience that? So Paula, I see acne, no more periods, hot flashes. Yes, yes, yes to all of them. Okay. So if you are experiencing some of these that you guys are putting below, that actually sounds a lot like what? Like a lot of the symptoms, not all of them, but a lot of the symptoms sound like menopause, right? Sounds like menopause symptoms. Fatigue, unexplained weight gain, sleep disturbances, you know, all of this. Losing hair. I see people talking about losing hair a lot. And so obviously this is actually showing you that when you hit menopause, you are experiencing a hormonal imbalance, right? And so, yeah, I see lots coming in. Vivian, hair loss, hot flashes, sleep disturbance. And Jennifer, low libido, sometimes sleep disturbances. I've experienced it all, Angela. Yeah, exactly. Yvonne, fatigue, sleep imbalance, right? So this is clearly showing you that menopause is because of hormone imbalance, right? And so when you have the hormone imbalance, this is why you are feeling all of the things that you are. And because of the estrogen levels drop, this is why you're storing fat more to your midsection, and this is why you have not as healthy of a fat metabolism, because I talked about belly fat being affecting glucose metabolization, fat mobilization. So you're not mobilizing glucose as well, you're not mobilizing fat as well. And if you obviously if you don't go exercise regularly, your hormones are dropping off quite quickly, all of them, just like I said above, right? So there's just a lot to this hormone imbalance situation. But when I come back to it, okay, the final thing here is you need to work. What can you do to balance your hormones better without necessarily going on HRT? If you go on HRT, that's totally fine. That's something you want to talk to your doctor about. But there's a lot of things you can do to balance your natural hormone cycles, right? One, improve your insulin sensitivity, which means eat healthier foods and exercise regularly. If you eat healthier foods and exercise in the right way, you will improve your insulin sensitivity, right? So, and again, like I said, if you're like, okay, I know I need to learn how to eat healthier to have better insulin response, put a nutrition below, balancing nutrition below, because that's one of the things. If you want to balance your hormones, you have to balance your nutrition. So balance your protein, carbs, and fat, and balance your body so that you can take down inflammation markers, okay? So you want to improve your insulin sensitivity. You want to, number two, train your bigger muscles and have proper combination of weight training, your HIIT training, and your cardio. So you want to have proper combination of training and proper technique of hitting those muscles. And number three is you need to manage your stress and your cortisol well in order to counteract cortisol's effect against a lot of these hormones. So number one, got to know your nutrition, bring down inflammation in your system, okay? If you don't have that, put nutrition or inflammation below because you need help with that. Number two, you need to learn to train your bigger muscles, learn to resistance train, and have the right combination of programming of your resistance training, cardio, and HIIT training. So if you don't have the proper programming, I want you to also put proper programming or proper combination. And number three is knowing how to manage your stress and cortisol so that you can balance your other hormones and so that cortisol doesn't get in the way of you needing to properly lose fat and build muscle. So managing your stress and your cortisol. So those are the three areas that I want to challenge all of you to think about, because if you have belly fat, you're overweight, you have excess fat, you have fatigue, you have joint pain, you have problems sleeping, you have irregular cycles, you have low libido, you have low energy, those are all indications of hormonal imbalance that can be mostly corrected with healthy lifestyle change, with nutrition and exercise and proper mindset. Those are always my 3 prongs, right? The 3 legs of the stool is nutrition, proper exercise, and proper mindset. Then you have a good stable stool to work with. So if you are just jumping in, the biggest thing is to remember that number 1, we are on an anti-bloat challenge right now, a free one. So if you want to be marked down for that next anti-bloat challenge, you can put anti-bloat below. But if you are serious about your health and you're serious about knowing like, my inflammation, I need to control it, I need to have better hormonal balance, then you want to be put down 21-day anti-inflammation system. There is only a certain time frame it will be open once it launches on Friday, and then we will cut it off in about a week. So we won't accept anybody more into that program. So if you don't want to miss that 21-day course, you want to make sure you put 21 below. Okay, so obviously really complex. Like I said, hormones is super, super complex. Even right now, I feel like I haven't explained enough to all of you, but it's obviously a super long live. And hormones, there's 50 hormones in your body, right? So if you take one hormone off cycle, you can affect so many pathways. And so making sure you really, really deep dive into you don't have to understand all 50 hormones. I mean, that's crazy. You need to understand the application, which is nutrition, workouts, and how to protect your mindset. Okay. So let me know. I want all of you to put something below that you really learned from today's live. Put below what you really learned about today's live in terms of hormones and how you can be healthier. I would love to see what you took out of it. And I love the participation that you have, because I want to know what you learned from this, because the hormone lives are so scientific, and I find the scientific ones are sometimes where people are like, oh my goodness, my brain is going crazy, 8 hormones, and then this affects this. But I love to know what you took out of this hormone live. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me, and lots of hearts to all of you. Melatonin, Debbie, awesome. How that sleep affects your sleep, right? So, but yes, lots of hearts to all of you, and yeah, I'm super excited to end the anti-bloat challenge with all of you and launch into our very exciting 21-day program. So I will see all of you guys next week, and yeah, have a great night.